right when the Raiders moved to Vegas.
Honestly, it's AFC Championship game this year. Super Bowl.
You mean next year?
It's got to be a Super Bowl in 3 years, if not sooner. Because you're not making this kind of splash without trying to win, trying to sell out seats. And frankly, man, Raider fans deserve it, man. I'm out here getting banged on by Rams fans. I'm tired of it.
I actually thought about... I'm thinking about actually buying a playoff ticket for the Rams game just to see what it feels like to be the NFL playoff game.
For real, I don't even blame you, man.
I was in Vegas watching the Raiders just piss away that Philly game. And let me tell you, the last time I was in Vegas watching the Raiders play football, it was when they were getting their ass kicked in by the Buccaneers on my sister's birthday. She still doesn't even like watching Raiders games.
Which, by the way...
This is 2002. This is 2002. It's 2018. 16 years.
Which, by the way, how do you feel about Jack Del Rio getting Lane Kiffin, essentially?
Nah, he didn't get Lane Kiffin.
I mean, he got fired at the presser.
He got Tony Sperano'd. He almost got Steve... He kind of got Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, that's true.
And Steve Sarkisian's just returning to the Coliseum for the first time since he got fired from USC. Ain't that a stinker?
Honestly, man, the way I look at it is I think Mark Davis put it perfectly. We love you for what you've done for the community and what you've done for the culture.
You gave us the foundation for a championship team.
But you're not the guy to get us there. And
Reggie McKenzie made some terrible draft picks. I'm just saying.
But all this locker room snitching that I'm hearing now after the fact,
they were kind of happy he was gone.
Yeah, and between Crabtree, between Lynch, between Carr, between the offensive line.
Offense was kind of pissed at him.
Ken Norton, between the defense being mediocre.
Shout out to Bruce Irvin.
Coach. It's like, bro, you made your bed and you laid in it just on the defense. Then you factor in the offensive aggression. Then you factor on the lack of discipline, the lack of accountability, the digression overall as a team. Bro, but the biggest thing for me of all is we're the Raiders, and we're out here getting out physical by teams. We're out here looking soft. We're out here looking beaten before we even take the field. That's not what being the Raiders is about, and Jack Del Rio knows that because he is a Raider. I'll never take that away from him because he's a true fan. He grew up watching his team. He lived his dream. And honestly, man, just like all of us who are Raider fans, that's our goal, our dream. And just to see him live it, to see him handle it with grace, to get that firing, I know damn well you wouldn't take it like that, Kenny. I know damn well I wouldn't take it that way. I know damn well you're calling out RM at that press conference.
I'm calling out Mark Davis.
You are petty. You're calling out Mark Davis. You're calling out the city of Oakland.
I'm like, first off,
you're calling out Raider Mike. You're calling out Dr. Death. You're calling out Gorillazilla. You're calling out...
I'm starting a podcast with I would start a podcast with Dr. Death. Like,
don't give Del Rio no...
Bro,
Do not give Del Rio no
like, bro,
ideas.
How we pass on... I'm going to give you a list of linebackers that the Raiders passed on. All right? And this is just over like the past 5 years that they blatantly passed on. They passed on Deion Jones, third in the league in tackles and a Pro Bowler, one of the fastest linebackers in the league, and an LSU product, Katrina kid, stud, Bernard McKinney.
All right, man, we get it.
No.
This is your weekly.
Let me get this off.
Weekly
Let me get this off.
Of hating on defensive players at Reggie McKenzie.
I really
You
don't.
literally do this every podcast.
No, I'm just being honest. Like, how hard is it really to be a scout? Like, I can see it. Why can't they? I'm just saying. Telvin Smith, the two guys I mentioned, Eric Kendricks. All these guys are Pro Bowl linebackers. And they whiffed on all of them. And they might not even bring back Navarro Bowman, who actually wants to stay there. I'm just saying, what is Oakland building? Because they could have built an elite defense. They didn't. They could have built an elite offense. They clearly don't have that. And their coaches are trash.
Okay.
Offensively. They haven't had a good offensive coordinator since when?
And now they're bringing back Greg Olson, which, by the way... Jeff Filippo, the QB coach, was really the mastermind behind Carr's rookie year, and he was also the mastermind behind McGloin's mediocrity because he's trash, and making the best out of Terrell Pryor. So a lot of people, he's actually the mastermind in Philly right now. He's probably going to get a head coaching gig somewhere. I would love to see him back instead of Greg Olsen, but I don't think he wants to be Gruden's patsy. So,
and they're also saying the Raiders.
Olsen.
They're saying the Raiders made a mockery of the
Rooney Rule,
which could be argued. I probably think they did, but I think they always.
But they're saying they already interviewed the tight ends coach and an unnamed college coach before they even talked to Gruden, which is kind of weird because they just fired Del Rio.
And these reports came out about hiring Gruden and giving him ownership stake
before Del Rio was hired.
I'm just saying.
But let me tell you something. My theory is the unnamed college coach was David Shaw. I'm just saying
that makes the best bet because you got Stanford.
They probably had coffee with him and were like, "Hey Shaw, you ready to leave Stanford yet?" He's like,
give me one more year.
Pac-12 is trash. I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. And they're like, all right.
So I'm recruiting like everywhere now.
So
hopefully Bryce Love comes to the Raiders. Maybe not.
All right. So I know you and I could stay on this topic forever. So let's move on. I'll give you another couple of I'll give you another couple of news stories. You can give me a take, or you can give me a tangent. So we can get through it real quick.
I prefer that.
Pete Carroll. Rumors about him retiring surfaced on Sunday before the Seattle Seahawks ultimately sealed their fate of not making the playoffs.
I'm giving a tangent.
But he said he's not retiring. He's returning. So go ahead, Kenny. Give me your tangent.
It was disrespectful for him to sit up here and say that Cliff Averill, it's going to be a hard time for Cliff Averill and Cam Chancellor to ever play football again. I don't think you go out there and say that about two dudes who got you Super Bowls and really are the reason you are where you are right now. And the fact that you had a resurgence. Cam Chancellor, if he wasn't in Seattle, let's be honest, where would Pete Carroll be?
But those are facts. They were already saying that.
No, but I'm saying
they have
instead of coming, but you don't come out and just say, I don't think it's going to be hard for them to ever play again.
Bro, you already
Teddy Bruschi had a stroke and people were like,
you said that a month ago. That the Legion of Boom is
all
dead.
People to stand behind,
and you said the Legion of Boom
all people to stand behind, you stand behind the guys that got you there. Even if...
You mean like drafting Taylor Mays?
No, chill. He didn't draft Taylor.
Or, bringing Reggie
He didn't draft Taylor Mays. He didn't draft Taylor Mays.
Exactly.
No, but... He didn't stand behind anybody at USC. He just
exactly.
That's different. But I'm saying this is different. He won championships with he drafted a lot of those guys. Like, you don't sit up here and Cliff Averill got in free agency, but you don't sit up here and be like, oh yeah, it's going to be hard for them to play again. And maybe they still want to play again. But you don't go out there and say that. You say, whatever they decide, I fully support them.
Wow, Kenny's telling someone to take the politically correct answer instead of giving.
In this case, you do because
I'm shocked.
That defense was broken down and mangled and maligned because of the fact that Pete Carroll babied Russell Wilson and babied that trash ass offensive line. Tom K was supposed to be the best offensive line coach ever, but his offensive lines are always trash.
You actually made the best of it down the stretch. So.
Okay. You know what?
Bro, you do something with Ifridi, who gets mad and gets a damn penalty every single play, and Luke Jocko, who's one of the biggest busts ever, and then
Texas A&M offensive lineman,
and then adding their best offensive lineman is a dude they acquired mid-season.
No, it's the center, who's now a guard, Justin Britt.
Yeah, he's pretty good though.
He's like one of their best offensive linemen. And then the guy, Ethan Pokic, the guy out of LSU, he can play guard. He can play every position.
I'm going to give you a take. You know how I feel about Pete Carroll.
That's what I say. Pete Carroll's being disloyal.
With the PC initials are the real ones. Man, Pete Carroll's a GOAT.
Peacekeepers?
He's one of the only dudes to win at both levels. He's created a culture out of nothing at both USC and Seattle. So
Seattle had some players.
He does what he needs to do, man, and I respect him for it. So if he's down for the rebuild at 66 years old or however old he is, more power to him.
It's more of a reload, not a rebuild.
Speaking of mediocrity, The Cincinnati Bengals were rumored to fire Marvin Lewis, and then in some weird change of fate, they gave him a 2-year extension, despite missing the playoffs. So, Kenny, take your tangent.
Here's my take. Get off his nuts. Seriously. Who are you going to replace him with? Same question I asked on Twitter. Who are you going to replace him with? And seriously, if it's a black head coach who's been in the league for 15 years and he's the most successful coach in franchise history, I don't care what his record is, you should be thankful. And since Cincinnati, honestly, didn't have a contingency plan for a lot of times, like when Palmer got hurt, I'm putting that on Bengals ownership. Remember Odell Thurman? Pro Bowl linebacker. I think he actually was all-pro one year, but he was definitely a damn good linebacker. He was Vontaze before Vontaze, but he just had, like, drug problems. But, like, he stayed the ship, and he's done everything he could to keep that team afloat. And one of the hardest divisions in football, since everyone wants to pretend like the AFC North is a cakewalk, and it ain't. If you look at who's won the Super Bowl, Ravens have constantly been in it. Steelers have been in it. And then you have the Bengals, who were the Bungles, and they were even worse before he got there. So get off his head, because honestly, I feel like because Marvin Lewis, if he was white, we wouldn't be giving him this grief. Because ask yourself this question: what has Andy Reid ever won? And he's been around forever.
Please don't ever disrespect Andy Reid by comparing him to Marvin Lewis. I will catch hands with you right now, bro.
Look at the records. One's a little bit better than the other.
Okay. How many Super Bowl appearances does Marvin Lewis have?
None.
How many NFC championships does Marvin Lewis have?
I don't think he has a playoff win, but guess what?
Okay. Don't ever compare him to that.
Is he one of the greatest coaches in Bengals franchise history? Yes.
Who comes from Marvin Lewis's coaching tree? Jack Del Rio?
Nah,
okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Who comes? Hugh Jackson?
No.
Who else? Come on.
I think
Who else?
He's in the tree of, like, Tony Dungy, if I'm not mistaken. He was a defensive coordinator for Baltimore at one point when they won the Super Bowl, right?
And who was on that staff? Del Rio?
A lot of great people.
Yeah, okay. So my point is this. Who's on Andy Reid's coaching tree?
The back top
Jon Gruden, every single West Coast
Packers coach
quarterback,
pretty much. Steve Mariucci, we count that?
Yeah.
Or is he home?
So please don't ever disrespect Andy Reid.
Okay, I'm not disrespecting Andy Reid. I'm just saying
you really didn't need to do that to make your point.
I didn't, but
the only reason why you did that is because Marvin Lewis is the longest tenured coach right now, and you don't have anyone.
He's the winningest head coach
and you don't have anyone
in franchise history.
Which, by the way, man, all this talk about the Rooney Rule, and two of the longest tenured coaches are African American.
Don't you dare hit me with that bullshit.
No, I'm not saying we don't need that.
No,
I'm not saying we don't need the Rooney Rule.
No, I'm just saying how many black offensive coordinators are the NFL?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, man,
that's what I'm
props to them, man,
for lasting this long.
For lasting this long. That's what I'm saying.
I just want to say I ain't gonna fire a guy just because. You know what? Seriously, get off his nuts. That coaching thing ain't as easy as you think it is, and dealing with the Bengals ownership. Oh, it's a miracle they made it that far.
Okay, all right. So,
and seriously, why are there no black offensive coordinators?
Our mobile studios closing down soon, so let's start wrapping it up.
I'm about to go get some ice cream, dog. Let's be honest.
Playoff picks, real quick. Falcons, Rams. Who you got?
Falcons.
Honestly, man, I want to go Rams because I feel like they're the most complete team.
Julio Jones.
But he's banged up. The Falcons, man.
Julio Jones.
They've been hot and cold this year. I feel like they could get hot because they've gotten hot in the playoffs before. But you know what, man? F it. I'm in. Taking the Rams, even without Legatron. I'm probably never going to hear the end of it, so.
Yeah, because that kicker kind of sucks.
Kenny's going to slander me now, forever.
I have to slander you.
Probably Drew.
Yeah, Andrew's definitely going to. I'm going to make sure Andrew slanders you.
Okay. A match we've come accustomed to over the past couple of years. Saints and Panthers.
Saints have not the better defense, but they win shootouts, and they can run the ball and they can pass the ball. If Cam can't pass, they're not going to be running the ball. So yeah, there's